So yesterday made me think about uh, how manipulation tactics have been used um, upon Black women so very deeply by many people, and especially what I showed you with those divested zealots. And manipulation tactics and dark psychology has been used upon the Black woman for 400 plus fucking years. So, in today's Black Woman's Guide, we're going to learn about dark psychology they put upon you. Now, understand, and I do understand, that these people that are talking, of course, they're not giving the big booming secrets, right? But listening to them is enough for you to guide yourself in navigating your life. I really encourage everybody, all of you, okay? Get a notebook, take that notebook, write down people you know, categorize the people you know, be honest about how you know them via, a parasocial, family member, an actual friend that's in your day to day world, relationship, whatever it may be. And write down all the notes that you can about that person and traits, honestly. And I promise you, it will be a step and a help for a lot of things in your life. So, as you know, for fair use, I'm going to play this video and I'm going to pause it and I'm going to talk over it a little bit, okay? Let's go.
Doesn't matter how much other people like them. Trained manipulators will fight to keep control. It's a huge sign that you can't trust the person. When it comes to detecting lies, you're looking for 3 different categories.
When you trust someone like your partner, it can actually bring you much closer together, but it can also open you up to being tricked or lied to, manipulated, or really leaving you totally soul crushed and never trusting another human ever again. So Andrew, as the CIA spy, who is the master at infiltration and interrogation, what signs can we actually start to look out for to know that no, they are not to be trusted, and yes, they are lying to your face?
There's a framework at CIA that we learn because our job is to gain trust that we don't deserve. Like, think about that for a second. A CIA officer's job is to gain trust so that a source will give us secrets, but that source shouldn't trust us.
Boom. It made me think about two things when I heard that. It made me think about the obvious one, online relationships. And number two, it made me think about people we have around us on a day to day basis. People who are our coworkers, people who are even our family, because everybody's family. You're not always close to family, or you don't always grow up with your family. People we call our friends. And why the hell do we call people our friends?
Because we are literally there to steal secrets. We're not there to help them. So there's a process that can be repeated over and over again to gain someone's trust. That's the system that we learn at CIA. That's the system that con men master on their own. That's the system that abusive spouses, abusive partners master on their own. They learn through
I'm gonna keep
repetition, through abusing.
I have to keep pausing, y'all, because I don't want to get copyright struck. Uh, there's a coworker. I want to say something else too. How it start is how it's gonna end. That's a very true fucking statement. I swear that's a true fucking statement, bro. Um, if someone comes off as an enemy to you, they are forever your enemy. There'll never be nothing else. There's no such things as for enemies to friends. That's not a true statement. Okay? So, if anybody is the enemy or op, as y'all call it, and then suddenly they're trying to be kind to you, and it's no, don't do it.
Serial abusing partners, spouses, girlfriends, boyfriends, right? And that system is called know, like, trust, KLT. Now, break it down into 3 different words: know, like, and trust. Know, the first word, know, is indicative of the fact that you can't trust somebody until you know they exist. You can't trust a book until you know the book exists. You can't trust a doctor until you know the doctor exists, right? So it's a very simple checkbox kind of item. Until someone knows you exist, they can't trust you. So the first thing that we're trained to do, and the first thing that any con person or any professional or experienced liar will try to do, is get discovered. Without being discovered, you can't be trusted. But that's very binary. It's simple yes, no. Do you know they exist? Do you not know they exist?
Does know even account for something like social media, where you feel like you know someone because you follow them?
Close. It's literally a yes or no question. If you follow them, you know them.
Ah, okay.
If you've ever seen them before, you know them.
Got it.
Right? So it's really that simple. Where you're getting to, do I follow them? Do I not follow them? Now you're in like.
This is the number 1 game that males play. And for women who play this game too, because this is not just a gender thing. The way the game is played, and this is why you have to be careful with coworkers. I see you all the time, you see me. I'm always in your space. Someone can be in your space and never say a goddamn thing, but their energy can say a lot. This is a very heavy manipulation tactic. Someone is always trying to make their presence be known, be known, be known. That psychologically, whether you realize it or not, makes you feel like that person can be trusted to talk to, even with small talk. And you have to be careful with that. This is how people send people for people too.
So know, like, trust, KLT. Think of it like a fuel meter on your car. No is yes or no. It's like your car being empty. It's either empty or it's not empty. That's no. The rest of it, about from 0 to like 3/4 tank, that's all like. There's a whole lot of variation in like. Some people you like a lot, some people you don't like a lot, some people you like them and then you dislike them because they say something, right? This is very much like social media. The same thing is true when you're trying to develop trust with somebody. You're building up the like meter, fuel tank, if you will. It's something you've heard, if you've heard the word rapport.
Yep.
You're building rapport. What rapport is a type of social currency that you can use to buy someone's trust, buy someone's affection, buy someone's belief, right? You're investing time and energy into building up their like category.
So you said you can build rapport to get someone to like you. How do you build rapport with somebody?
There's a whole other system that CIA teaches us to build that rapport, to build that trust, what we call social capital, right? And it's essentially what that boils down to is you want to reflect their values, reflect their beliefs, because by reflecting them back to them, you're validating what they like and what they believe, even if you disagree. Right? You can reflect it, validate it without even agreeing with them. And what will happen is they'll start telling themselves a story in their brain that you are somebody who thinks and feels the same way that they do. Have you ever had a conversation with somebody where you're talking about marriage, you're talking about business, you're talking about fashion, and you're getting along, and you're like, this person gets me. And then they say something out of nowhere that you completely disagree with. You've had that happen, right?
Yeah.
So that's how you know you're talking to somebody who isn't trained, because they were unaware of the fact that they were building rapport, and then they were unaware that they just threw what we call a social hand grenade. They threw a social hand grenade out there and then exploded the whole relationship, and you're like, you're crazy.
So that's
I
almost
thought you
like
were
a
cool.
sign that someone isn't trying to do that or manipulate you, because they wouldn't have said it if they were.
Right, exactly.
It goes like this.
Because a person who is skilled at manipulation, who is skilled at social engineering, or social mechanics, if you will, that person knows how not to step on landmines.
This is very true. People always lift their mask. Do things they say under their breath when there's something that's that they don't agree with, or they come back and tell you they don't agree with, this is when the rapport is being broken as he's talking about it. And that is something that I, again, like I said, write people down, watch out for. My number one thing, when you're getting to know somebody, avoid night conversations. Okay, number one, avoid night conversations. Avoid random calls and random. Have a schedule with somebody. When is the best time to, this is the best time to call me. This is the best time to reach me. That's what you do. Excuse me. You pay attention to what someone is always trying to talk to you about. You see, it depends on where you're located. When you live in the city, people are not easily approachable. You have to make a way of getting into somebody in the city. Places, the South and the Midwest, people are so much more open to talk. People are open to tell. If the police, they'll be like, yeah, something happened and the police said this, and because that's small town shit. And this is why a lot of times small town people don't like city people, because they can't pull information out of a city person. Also, pay attention to the random questions. Tone is everything. Okay? I'll give an example. Co-worker who talks a lot. People who talk too much can't be trusted, people. Trust me when I tell you. Somebody told me that years ago, and I was like 1920, and their birthday was a day before mine. And they couldn't be more right. There was a Pisces moon. People who talk too much can't be trusted. That's number one. And that's she got in trouble for being on her phone. Okay? So I know firsthand about people who are on their phone all the time. Okay? Number two, what happened was she was sitting down talking, and we was talking. And she was talking about how she wanted BBL and all this shit. And being who I am, I was like, you don't really have to do that. You can just work out with what you have. And she was talking about Dominican women and how nice their bodies is. And everybody knows my family's mixed Caribbean all over. I was like, yeah, I was thinking like, I had said it later, but that's another topic. But she went to talk. And, because that's the thing about me. I listen first and then I respond later. Like, yeah, I have cousins that's Dominican, and then people don't want to believe me. I don't care though. So what happened is she began to talk, and I was like, yeah, because such and such. She was talking about the company we work for, and then I went on talking about something, and then she told me that she went and Googled it from her phone, and she was like telling me more information. I was like, oh, that makes sense. I didn't know that this company, like, that was the casual conversation. Then it turned into, see, this is another thing too, people. Don't be so quick to express who you don't like, okay? Don't do that, all right? Express it to like a family member, close friend, but don't be quick to express who you don't like, especially at work. So I was like, because this coworker, nobody likes her. Like, she's like if anybody's the most hated, it's her next to the white chick with the tattoo on her hand that nobody likes, right? Now, the chick with the tattoo on her hand, I don't have a problem with her. You know what I'm saying? I mean, she's a bitch, but yeah, she gives me poly lifestyle, swinger life vibes, but that's just me, right? But anyway, this coworker was like, well, what about the fact, because my neighbor is who this most hated coworker is friends with. And I didn't respond. Ooh. And I didn't respond. The thing with that is, in that moment, why didn't I respond? It's not nothing I didn't think about. It's not nothing I didn't already know. It was so random for me for her to say that. You understand? It was so random. Like, why are you asking that? How close are you to her? See, that's where my mind went. And that's why I went silent. But the thing about going silent like that, people who are manipulators like that, because in her tone I can tell, when you go silent like that, they feel like they one-upped you, right? They feel like they outsmart you. They went over your head. So you just let them. You just let them believe that. You don't understand what I'm saying? So it was another thing I wanted to say. It'll come to me later. Let's continue listening.
So when someone's very skilled, when someone makes no errors, we like to think, oh, this must be a match made in heaven.
True happiness is well within the Keen app, our thousands of trusted intuitive advisors.
When in fact, what it most likely is a big red flag that person is very intentional about cultivating the relationship. When we look at know, like, trust, when we look at that process, when we go from 0 to full too fast, we're trained to raise a red flag in our own brain. I like this person too fast. I trust this person too fast. Because the way that trust happens is when like reaches a certain threshold, you fall into trust.
Did y'all catch
Do
that?
that or manipulate you because they wouldn't have said it if they were.
Okay,
Right, exactly. Because a person who is skilled at manipulation, who is skilled at social engineering, or social mechanics, if you will, that person knows how not to step on landmines. So when someone's very skilled, when someone makes no errors, we like to think, oh, this must be a match made in heaven. When in fact, what it most likely is a big red flag that person is very intentional about cultivating the relationship. When we look at know, like, trust, when we look at that process, when we go from 0 to full too fast, we're trained to raise a red flag in our own brain. I like this person too fast. I trust this person too fast. Because the way that trust happens is when like reaches a certain threshold, you fall into trust. You've heard the term falling in love. What is falling in love? Falling into trusting somebody. That's all falling in love is. You're falling into trusting somebody with your body, falling into trusting somebody in your house, falling into trusting somebody with your kids, falling into trusting somebody with your money. That's all it is. It's falling into trust. So the more accurate term for falling in love is really falling in trust, which is something we do every day with salespeople, with investors, with customers, with new products. We fall into trust all the time.
Oh my God, so many questions. Okay, so you said it gets to a point where like falls into trust. What typically is that turning point?
It's different for everybody because it's based on your personal background, your experiences, your personality, as well as the situation or the context. So for example, an extroverted person, somebody who likes to be around people, is more likely to fall into trust faster than an introverted person, because an introverted person does not find it easy to be around people. So if you have a partner that you're dating, if you have a business partner, if you have a client or a customer that is introverted, you're going to have to be prepared to put more time and effort into them because it is not their natural inclination to trust. It is their natural inclination to avoid or stay away from.
Oh my God. So you've given those two examples, introvert, extrovert. What other potential examples are there that you have seen where it's like, okay, depending on which category you're in, you're either more likely or less likely to trust someone?
It falls into some very clear categories. There's an age category. Under the age of 25, far more likely to fall into trust. Partly because you haven't had experiences that have damaged your trust, partly because you, in the brain development cycle itself, you're still technically in puberty. People don't realize this. Puberty lasts until 25. It does not last until 18. So you're far more willing to take risks from age 18 to 25 than you are from age 25 on.
Wow.
So that's why you drive crazy motorcycles. That's why you start businesses.
This reminds me of how much I don't trust people for a long time. But what would get me before the age of 25, being nice to me was never it. That was never it. What would get to me is likability. So if you had the same book that you read as me, if you went to the same spaces as me, this is where I could be manipulated by people, because I was always a like-minded person that was always about what I was all about. So also in this Black Woman's Guide, it goes back to what I always tell you. Look at yourself. Look at your weaknesses. Look at your flaws. Look at where you crack at. That's why I want you to write things down, because this is going to help you in the long run with this right here. This is what this Bell is talking about, because he's just listen.
That's why you think of
I'm going to stop saying just listen. Yeah.
all the stupid shit you did from 18 to 25, Lisa.
I don't know how I'm still alive.
We're all like that. Yeah. And that's a big part of why under the age of 25, you're more likely to fall into trust faster. And then it happens again. It happens again over the age of 65.
What? I thought you said it would just increasingly get less trustworthy.
So you never get as trusting as you were under the age of 25.
Right.
But what happens is your skepticism, your scruples go up until about age 55, right? 55 or 60. And then they start to have a downturn again.
Why is that?
It's because by that point, you feel like you've learned everything. You feel like you know patterns. You feel like you understand the world. Well, what's the problem when you're 18?
You think you understand the world. Oh my God.
But the whole world has changed. The world you know is 30 years old. And now you're part of a new world with new rules and new social norms and new everything. And it's not going to work the way you think it works. Look at especially men and women of retirement age right now. They're the prime target for credit card scam, for identity theft, for online fraudulence, because they don't know how to use the internet. They don't understand apps. They don't realize what they're clicking when they click yes, right? They don't understand it like you and I understand it. And frankly speaking, you and I don't understand it like 16-year-olds understand it right now, right? So that's the process. That's the problem with falling into trust, is that there's categorical ways to target gaining people's trust based on age. Just like there's categorical ways of gaining their trust based on their personality type. Another category is actually based on income, because income is an indicator of life experience or life events. Generally speaking, most people don't have children when they make less than $30,000 a year. Generally speaking, you're professional, right? You're professional when they start making about $60,000 to $80,000 a year, then they start having children. So that means when they're making $250,000 a year, you can assume that somebody making $250,000 a year has had certain life experiences. They're probably over the age of 30. They've probably had at least one degree. They are either running a business or they've managed people, right? You can start making these algorithmic assessments about people. And then from that, you can create ways to gain their trust. If somebody's had children, fastest way you can gain trust, talking about children. If somebody's been married to a heterosexual partner, fast way to gain trust is to make jokes about being married to a heterosexual partner. You see how it works? Right? When you're retired and you want to gain trust, who do you trust? Somebody else who's of retirement age.
Because you think that they're like you and they understand the way that you.
This is why I am so leery of Caribbean men, because they're so quick to talk about children. This is why I'm so leery of males, because they're so quick to talk about children. And this is why I don't tell the truth about how many children I have or say that I have them at all. And I do this because the tactic is the thing that you're asking me, the first thing that comes out your mouth, and I don't know you, is the very thing that you are going to try to manipulate me with. Casual conversations are casualties, okay? Casual conversations are casualties. So the first thing someone says is where you will be manipulated in and down.
You see the world.
Correct. If you're going back to that know, like, trust, you know they exist, check. You like them, you fill up your gas meter really fast because as soon as you see them, you assume they're like you. I'm married, you're married, we must be similar. I'm a business owner, you're a business owner, we must be similar, right? We fill up that meter really fast, and that's how you get to the place where you fall into trust without realizing it. Especially if you are also extroverted, especially if they're making the same amount of money as you, especially if they state life experiences that you have also had, sending kids to college or going through pregnancy or buying life insurance or whatever else, right? You can see how easy it would be to manipulate, fabricate, create that entire cycle of experience only to then fraudulently fool somebody at the end.
What about religion?
Religion is one of those really dangerous ones because where most of life you kind of have to probe to find what people are interested in, religion is one of the few things where you can create something and people will come to you, right? It's very, very dangerous that way. So depending on how a child is raised, they could be preconditioned to believe certain terminology, certain faith pillars that can then be used as essentially like a road sign, right? Like, hey, we believe in Jesus, or hey, we believe in Allah. And that's going to bring people to you. And then once they actually come to you, then there can be a very unhealthy ideology inside that attracts people with falsity, right? With false sincerity, and then abuses them once they're inside, especially if you then pair that up with some of the other indicators we talked about. Extroverted people, people of certain income, people of certain personality types, people of certain age.
Yeah, thinking about using that vulnerability against somebody. If you're, let's say I'm Greek Orthodox, I'm going to use myself. I'm Greek Orthodox, I go to Greek Orthodox church, I've been taught certain morals and beliefs about Greeks and how we should show up, be kind to thy neighbor, like things like that. So when someone else comes into my culture or my religion, I assume they have the same morals that I do because we believe in the same thing.
Right. And what you're doing there is you're demonstrating the know, like, trust process. If a Catholic walked up to you, you would immediately like them less, right? Not because there's anything wrong with them, but just because you extend fewer assumptions to them because there's something different. That's all it is.
Talk to me about then people who have credibility in their title where you automatically trust them. So you trust the doctor, you trust the pilot, you trust, it's like if you have that credibility to your name, you're more likely to trust them much quicker.
So here's what's really interesting about what you're talking about. The context of trusting a title.
Before he gets into that, Pastor such and such, Bishop such and such. See what I'm saying? Professor such and such. I don't trust nobody that got no motherfucking title. Sister such and such. I don't trust nobody that has a fucking title. That's someone who has an inflated ego. That's someone who has a grandiose personality, and that person is going to fall in the gray lines of narcissism and possibly a sociopath.
Is reserved.
What happens is when someone titles, well, I'm Pastor such and such. I'm Pastor Christopher. Hello, Christopher. You see how that works? in that moment, you don't give a fuck that they passed or anything. You don't give a fuck. You didn't even acknowledge the title. You see what I'm saying? I see people who I've seen women who, as soon as a male tells them that there's such and such title, they instantly have this respect for them. And I remember the saying is, trust is not knowing. And now I really get what that means. Because what do you know that you trust? How do you know that you trust something if you don't know really who or what you're trusting? Trust is not knowing. So people build these type of titles to build your trust.
Served only for civilizations that are what we would call first world or developed, right? Because in a developing world, doctor doesn't mean anything, right? In the tribe of Native Americans, who's the doctor? The doctor is the medicine person, right? Even what's really interesting is even in Western culture, we're seeing more and more indications of people moving away from title and moving towards preference. My wife gave birth with a doula, not with a doctor, right? Because even though a doctor and a pediatrician in a hospital setting is supposed to be what you use, my wife chose to use a doula. It was her own choice, not because she was looking for a title, but because she was looking for an experience and she was looking for a certain level of control and participation in her own childbirth experience. So even when we talk about doctors and attorneys and teachers getting certain credibility afforded to them, trust afforded to them by their title, that is a uniquely Western or developed mentality. Because as soon as I take you to Africa, as soon as I take you to Latin America, South America, to Southeast Asia, the people delivering babies are other mothers. The people helping sick children are other mothers. The people who are dealing with snake bites and animal venom and sunburn, those aren't doctors anymore. Now they're just the person in the village who has experienced it before. It's a really amazing thing. There's a pyramid that it's called the social pyramid. And inside that social pyramid, it talks about how societies develop over time. A rudimentary society is very individualistic, which means you hunt and you eat what you hunt, I eat what I hunt. We don't collaborate. You live on your side of the river, I live on my side of the river, the end. The next level up is called tribalism. And tribalism is like, hey, you're a really good hunter. I'm actually better at making jelly. So how about you do the hunting for both of us? I'll make the jelly for both of us, and we'll put a wall around both of our villages, and we'll share the river, right? So tribalism is when you share resources and you begin to capture some efficiencies. You move up the social triangle. Well, at the very top of the triangle is called civilization, the state, society. At the state level, who teaches your children? The school. Who keeps you safe? The police. Who's there to put out a fire in case your house starts on fire? The fire department, right? We start gaining social efficiencies, but at the cost of our individual freedoms. So now, if your child breaks a rule that somebody else set, you're responsible, your child's responsible, they could get kicked out of school and you have no education option. If the police don't come and help you, you don't know how to help yourself. So that's the cost of going up that social ladder. So yes, teachers have a certain responsibility, and that's why they get the title, and that's why they get afforded the trust that they get. But if you move down the social triangle, that's when you start having more capable individuals with more freedom.
Ooh, so I can imagine as you're going up that triangle, then you do need to almost develop the trust, because if you're then saying to someone, hey, you hunt and I cook, I'm trusting you to go and hunt, and I'm going to stick to my own, my agreement. But then as you keep going up, to your point, you're now trusting the police to turn up, and you're taking that responsibility off your plate.
Yep, you're trusting the bureaucracy to work, which is why even though like it's a very simple triangle, but it's a very complex execution because every society in the Western world handles it differently. Canadians do it differently than the Americans. Georgia does it different than California. You can see how even at the top of that triangle, it sounds so simple, but the state executes the state's priorities in its own way. And we have very little say in what that is.
And we trust the government system to put people in the right position. I don't know actually if you've heard of the case Dr. Death. He creates these plastic tubes for the throat for people to breathe. And he makes up the craziest lies. But he's a doctor, and one person says, oh, no, he's great. And then another person, then here's that person. Before you know it, this guy is operating and he ends up just killing multiple people because the thing that he supposedly developed, he said like could adapt to your body and create your own like wiring and stuff. And it was all fake. It was literally, he developed this plastic tube and convinced people to put them in their throats. And then 6 months later, they would die and they would extract it and realize it was like toxic and it had just like, it wrote.
Nobody's convincing me to put nothing in my throat. Let me tell you something. Two things hit my mind. As intuitive people in this world, the universe speaks to us through people. You know, some of us need to understand that we're mask lifters, all right? And I'm going to help you understand what mask lifting is. Mask lifting is you have to not allow yourself to be triggered when the universe is channeling through somebody, right? Listen. One time I was sitting down on the yacht and this random white guy from Virginia, his girlfriend, who was pretty cool, was like, they're looking at you. They're looking at you. And he was telling me that people was looking at me. And I found myself wanting to slap the shit out of this dude. But he wasn't lying. The people on the boat were looking at me. Because I was being a scam artist and I was getting on the yacht and I wasn't paying my ticket. I'll admit that. Okay? Some days I used to do that. So much that they started asking for tickets at the door. You know what I mean? Anyway, so I had to stop doing that. Anyway, there's other times where people have randomly said things to me in the space where I'm at. Nothing in life is random. Okay? Now, could the person be lying? You need to follow your intuition on that. But nothing in life is random. You have to pay attention to how people do things. I had one situation where I was high. And this is why when I'm high, I don't like to come out. Because when I'm high, I like to have that as a private moment for myself. I don't like to be outside being high. And I'm very leery of people who want to drink and smoke and all that type of shit. I'm very leery of people like that. I watch you closer. Because some people have it in their mind that keeps you, that puts your guard down. You know what I'm saying? For me, it doesn't. It just makes me more aware. So it was something stupid like a sock or something. And so my partner was like, I didn't know what the fuck was going on. I was just looking for my fucking beer. And dude behind me was like, she was like, oh, he's asking, is that your sock? And I was looking at the socks and they were cute. And I had even the sock that had fell that Tiana knocked over, I had picked it up and just put it back or whatever. Anyway, I don't usually do that. You know what I'm saying? And he went to talking and he went to talking and he went to talking and I hear Atson and this and that. And then he criticized about people in New York and something about them talking so much that they mouth dry. But he was the one doing all the goddamn talking. I did not turn around. I did not acknowledge him. And he kept going and he kept going like, oh, I'm not flirting with you, but you know, you are flirtable and this and that. And I still did not say nothing, but Yeah, New Yorkers, we don't pay people no mind. Or something like that. And I did not turn around and look at this man. And I thought about it. Why did it frustrate me? I got frustrated because the main thing was I wanted to tell him to shut the fuck up, right? But I'm kind of glad now, I realized he wasn't worthy of talking to, because that's the kind of a reaction that he wanted. Because I didn't turn around and I did not fucking acknowledge him. I couldn't even tell you what that dude looks like. He was going so hard to get my attention and he thought flattery was it. And I was like, oh, I got to go back to wearing my heavy metal shit a little bit more. Because leaning into yourself is key. You get what I'm saying? And I also understand what kind of people come around me when I'm around certain people as well. You have to also pay attention to that. And that in itself is a segment in itself. Let's go.
Coded in that person's body. But he convinced hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of doctors to be in the room while he's operating. He convinced the people to actually have this operation where he didn't do any freaking studies to back them up.
What you're talking about with a case like this, unfortunately, it's a unique story, but not a unique case, right? There are multiple cases of people who can fabricate or lie, what we call fabricated CIA. They can fabricate a message, and that message can be adopted over a group of people. And from that group of people, once a message is basically just an emotional statement, once that message is
this man, ironically, gives me strong Libra vibes. I doubt if they're going to tell me his birthday. But there's some Libra in this man. Yeah, I figured they're not going to show you his birthday. Let me see. 45 years old, born 1978. 1978 is the year of the horse. My mother's a horse. They're not going to say his birthday. Like, why would they tell a CIA agent's birthday, right? But he gives me strong Libran vibes. Anybody else pick that up from him? The way his hair looks, the way his face is, something about his eyes. Okay. What is his ethnicity? Okay. If he's a CIA agent, they're not gonna disclose too much. You know what I mean?
shared with that group of people, each individual in the group is now hearing the message multiple times over, not just from the source, but from the other people in the group, right? This is a fantastic example of this is whenever you go to a local restaurant, when you find like a local haunt, you go to your restaurant because you love it. Everybody else who's in the restaurant, guess what they're thinking? They love being in the restaurant. So then when you tap somebody on the shoulder and like, hey, isn't this the best coffee? Hey, isn't that the best pie? Hey, isn't this the best steak you've had in a while? Of course they're all going to agree with you, right? It tells from somebody from the outside coming in, that outside perspective is what tells you if you're actually dealing with something that's quantifiably or objectively better, which is why we all trust reviews of restaurants online more than we trust individuals who just say, oh, you should check out that restaurant. Nowadays, somebody's like, oh, you should check out that Greek restaurant down the street. You're like, oh, I will. Google map, check that restaurant. Oh, it's only got 3.2 stars. That lady didn't know what she was talking about. That's how we work now because we trust an outside opinion more than a micro opinion inside the community.
I think that might also be then why cults work, right? Because you've got 10, 20, maybe 100 people all saying exactly the same thing to you. And so it's not just hearing from one leader, it's hearing from their followers as well.
So let's just take everything we've talked about and apply it to a cult, because it's super valuable to understand how cults are developed. A cult is a perfect example of know, like, trust happening in real time.
Yes.
You don't even know the cult exists at first, right? And honestly, you might meet a member of the cult before they say the cult's name at all.
That's true.
So you meet somebody who's already part of an organization that has an ideological belief system that is not in line with best interests of health or mental health or physical health or even social norms. So somehow you come to know of a person who's connected to that ideology. And then as you like that person more and more, you essentially fall into trust with that person. And then what do? They introduce you to the cult.
Hosting Women of Impact, showing up and crushing the show every single week, and being mummy to this little one right here, and being an amazing wife to my hubby, and showing up for my business, and. There's so many things. I'm so busy. But in all of that, and mix that with aging, I am starting to actually lose my hair. The stress is really getting to me. I'm unable to maintain my nutrients. So I am now taking Beam minerals. I take these every single day. I put them in my coffee, in my Wonder Woman mug, and I take them every day to make sure that I'm getting the nutrients I need so that I can keep showing up confident and crushing the game. So because of my hair, it is actually affecting how I feel and my confidence. But because I'm taking Beam minerals, they're definitely helping in making sure that I don't lose
the right life experience, the right whatever. And and cults are a unique case because they're totally happy to let the wrong people out. Right? So as soon as somebody comes in and they're like,
That's true.
you guys, this is a cult. Everybody in the cult says, no, it's not. And you're an asshole. So why don't you leave? So then all the people who know what it is get kicked out. And all the people who believe it's not a cult stay in. And then you have this echo chamber of bad ideas. And once you are part of that cult, you're afraid of being rejected. Because if you're rejected from this, you don't belong anywhere else. That's the right kind of person to be targeted for a cult. And you can very quickly see how they fall from like into trust because they trust that this is where they belong. This is what they deserve. This is their fate. This is their destiny, right? They already had, for the most part, they already had a negative opinion about themselves. They already thought they were an outsider. They already thought they were a reject. This is the place where rejects are accepted. This is where I belong. Even if I don't like it, even if it's weird, even if it's what my parents told me not to do, if this rejects me, then I'm truly rejected. And you can see how it all it festers and it lives in that space. And that's why so many cults can be abusive.
It's interesting, actually, as you were talking, it hit me that trust is kind of the poison to gut instincts.
Correct. Gut instincts are something that we train at Everyday Spy. We train people, do not trust your gut instinct. You can't, because your gut instinct is tied to your emotional brain, your right brain. Your right brain is developed by evolution, right? By biology. It's designed to make fast, rapid decisions. Well, the last thing you need is a fast, rapid decision when new information is presented to you. What you need is a slower, more calculated decision. So when your gut instinct kicks in, that gut instinct is based off of right brain thinking. Right brain thinking is shortcut thinking. It's not objective thinking. So while a lot of people out there love to disagree and be like, oh no, I trust my gut. I trust my gut. I trust my gut instinct. You can trust it all you want. Professionals in the field have been trained not to trust their gut instinct. You will not find a Navy SEAL that trusts their gut. You will not find an FBI officer that trusts their gut. They might listen to their instincts and pursue something, like explore something, but that's completely different than making a decision in a lack of information based off of what your gut instinct is.
That's what.
Looking to get stronger? Join Planet Fitness today. Save $28 or more when you join for just $1 down, $15 a month. Cancel anytime. Deal ends January 31st.
Join our newest club, now open in Sand Springs.
It's time for you to get your reading superpowered. So stop straining your eyes and start listening instead.
I have to do a lot of reading for my job, emails, contracts, PDFs. To stay focused, I use a free Google Chrome extension called Speechify. It's like the voice of the internet. I get a play button everywhere. So if I click play on email, it reads. If I click play on a PDF, it reads. If I have physical books, I take a picture, it reads.
Speechify can read to you in the highest quality digital voices available anywhere.
So let's say you have to read an incredibly long email from your boss that you have to finish before the big meeting starts in 10 minutes. Or you're cramming.
Okay, let's go.
That's what I was going to ask. Like, if you use it as a source of information, but you don't make decisions based on just that alone.
That's the way to do it. We were talking earlier about trained versus untrained people. What trained people will do is they will understand that there's something catching their attention about a situation. There's something about this that's interesting to me, but why? Remember how I talked about know, like, trust? When it happens too fast, it's a red flag for CIA officers? That is a version of an instinctual reaction. I've trained myself to identify when I like somebody too fast, do not trust them. I lose nothing by taking an extra 3 weeks before I trust somebody. I don't lose anything, right? But what I do is I take the power away from them to abuse or manipulate me. All the advantage comes to me. So when your gut instinct is there to flag something to your awareness, by all means, trust that something was flagged for a reason. But then explore what that reason was, explore what the reaction is, do not trust the reaction. Fantastic example, right? When a boy meets a girl for the first time, I mean, it happens in rom-coms all the time. Boy meets girl thinks boy is cute. What's the look on the girl's face when the boy approaches her? She's like, so what does the boy think?
She doesn't like me.
She doesn't like me.
Yeah.
What does the girl think?
Oh God, he's
Why does he
approaching
like me? Yeah.
yeah.
But the communication is totally off, right? Both gut instincts are wrong. Both gut instincts are wrong, right? So when a boy walks up to a girl and she makes that face of disgust, the boy has to recognize what he just broke through was the no barrier. No, like, trust. She didn't know he existed before. Now she knows he exists. So she's got to process through that existence. Do I like his hair? Do I like his voice? What is his face? Do I like how close he's standing to me? How do I feel about being approached in this moment? Oh my God, I have morning breath. Oh my God, I just broke up with my other boyfriend, or I'm running late for whatever else, or I have to poop. Who knows what's going through her head, right? If he can just give himself the confidence, confidence man, if a genuine person can just give themselves the confidence to stand in that awkwardness for a few seconds, that woman will process what she needs to process and then have a response, right? Vice versa, the same thing goes with women approaching men or women talking to men. Especially strong women, when strong women approach a man for any reason, to make a purchase, to ask a question, to make a complaint, to make a pass, he's gonna do the same thing. He's not accustomed to being approached by strong women. So when he makes that face of disgust, or when he makes that face of surprise, it is not because he's sexist. It is not because, he's masochist or anything else. It could just simply be, this is new. I didn't know you before. You just broke the threshold of no, which means now my brain has to process whether or not I like what's happening. And they very well could like it. You just got to give them a few seconds to process.
Well, there's two scenarios there that I was thinking about when you were talking, because one, it feels like it can be life or death. Like, as a woman, I remember I was 12 years old or something, walking down the street, and I start hearing a car and it's really slow. And I'm like, maybe they're looking for a house, right? My first thought. Keeps going. It's going at the same pace as me. And so I turn around, and in that moment, I was totally insecure. So it's not like I had the confidence to be like, oh my God, could this be something serious? I was like, okay, I don't want to look stupid and run. Of course, that's my first thought as a kid. Like, I care about what other people think of me. So I'm like, I don't want to look stupid and run. But in that moment, I was like, but even if I'm wrong, I'd rather be alive. And so I just ran. Now, a lot of women have those stories where they're trusting their gut instinct and they just flee. You don't know. To your point, it could be absolutely nothing. It could be paranoia, it could be, but we don't necessarily have the moment or the time to pause. And in that moment, don't you think it's better to run than to pause, assess if it is a gut instinct, if it's accurate or not?
I'm always one who favors erring in the direction of the most conservative.
Got it, okay.
Right? Err in the direction of survival, err in the direction of protection. By all means, yes. There's no reason for you to be unprepared and force yourself to stay in an unprepared situation. So I think what you did was right? If you're uncomfortable, get off the X. That's a term that we use at CIA. Get off the X, because when you're off the X, you have options. Off the X means out of the area of danger. You gain more options by getting out of the area of danger. Staying in the area of danger reduces your options. So by running, you opened up, say, 3 new options, right? Whether or not that was a threat or not, you still gave yourself more options. You were untrained at the time, right? compare that to a trained person, right? A trained person would have the same experience, the same situation, and what they would do is they would recognize that there's increasing assessment that what's happening right now is not normal. The car coming up, moving at the same pace, being creepy. This is not typical of what I would expect.
And you will process that.
And then you would take specific actions to gain additional assessment while also giving yourself more options. So I'm assuming you're walking on a sidewalk if the car was close to you, right? Perfect time for you to step up a pair of stairs into a doorway. Does it have to be your house? No. But if it's a threat, what's that threat going to think?
It's your house.
Now, when you step up the stairs and go to that door, natural time to look left and look right while you grab the door handle. You don't even have to turn the door handle. And especially as a female, if you do turn a door handle at some stranger's house, you're most likely not going to be perceived as a burglar or somebody breaking and entering. You're going to look like somebody who just walked into the wrong house. Maybe you're confused, who knows what, right? Maybe you're scared. So by doing that, you've just taken yourself off the X, given yourself more options, and given yourself more information, because you can look around and see what's happening. And now when you look back and what you see is, a minivan with a mom and a dad arguing and 3 loud kids in the back, you're like, oh, they were not about to mug me. But if what you see is some scary car with some scary guy who's staring at you and driving by, you just got yourself off the X. And even better, you can now make a phone call to friends, family, police, whatever, and you can report an incident that caused you concern. When you ran away, you have no way of reporting what you just saw. That same car could have gone another block and a half down, found another woman who was not running away, and made a different decision.
Hopefully they didn't.
I agree.
But no, yeah, you're right.
So when you're trained and when you're untrained, the real difference isn't your survival. You can essentially ensure your survival by playing cautious Betty all the time. You can hide in your basement and keep your survival up high. A trained person recognizes we have a power to fight bad guys. There's a famous saying out there that says that all evil needs to succeed is for good people to do nothing. So when good people are trained to do something and still choose not to use that training, all we're doing is allowing evil to succeed. So we have to constantly exercise what power we have to improve the lives of others. Not because we are morally obligated to others, but because we are morally obligated to fight evil.
See, here's the thing about that. Black Woman's Guide. If you live in the hood, you can't do that. Depending on who you are in your hood, right? You can't see a crime committed and tell. Because the number one rules in goddamn the hood is no snitching. Right? You can't hear something go on and say something. You can't be somewhere and something go down and you're there. You know to run, play scared, whatever, get away, but never say nothing. It is a lifestyle that a lot of people do not understand. If you can understand the things I have witnessed from my peephole, from in front of my door, living in the projects, my goodness. I probably have literally witnessed a murder and could have said something, and I have not physically seen somebody die, but things have happened. So when he said about good people letting evil reign, that's the hood. And you got to stay out of that, because karmically, the mindset in the hood is, I don't know what the fuck that person did to die. I don't know what that person did to get fucking jumped like that. I don't know what that person did for their body to be dumped in the trash can or thrown in the back of the hallway. I don't know what the fuck that person did. And that is the mentality that most carry coming from that type of neighborhood situation. And only people who understand it know what I mean. Because I say that poverty is the root of all evil. And the person who quoted that is fucking, that's the honest to the fault. Because unless it's a situation, this is what I noticed. Unless this person holds some kind of status in that neighborhood, they can step in and tell the kids not to fight or tell somebody to go home or stop picking on somebody. They have the power to do that. Man putting his hand on a girl in the street or a woman in the street. They have the power to threaten to call the police and that person can stop, run away. You have the power to do all these different things. I've seen couples fight. I should have threatened to call the police, but it's not my fucking business. You see? So that one right there is tricky for me.
God. Okay, so going back to you were saying about the if someone's approaching you, if it's a guy or a girl, and you have a weird look and you're like, oh God, it is counterintuitive to what they're feeling and thinking. So now let's take that. Let's say you've built trust with somebody and they start to show you things that don't align. Let's say they're saying one thing, but their body language is saying the other, or vice versa. What are some signs that we can maybe just look for? If you were to have a polygraph, right? Like if you were a human lie detector, what would you actually be looking for to see if they're lying, or if it's just one of those moments where it's like, no, they're confused of why you're approaching them, and that's why you're seeing those signs.
Really, when it comes to detecting lies, you're looking for three different categories. You're looking for a category that we call consistency, which means, is their behavior consistent? You're looking for a category we call effort, which means how much effort is going into whatever they're doing or whatever they're saying. And then you're looking for a category of time. How long has passed, right? If there's inconsistent behavior over a long period of time, that can be explainable, right? Today was a good day, tomorrow's a bad day. You know, women go through a monthly cycle that changes hormonally and changes their behavior hormonally, right? Imagine, I'm sure you've seen moments where Tom's having a good morning, gets a bad phone call, has a bad afternoon, right? Change over time, right? Inconsistency over time, over long periods of time, is not something to cause you alarm. Inconsistency over short periods of time is. So when you see people who have spikes in happiness, spikes in sadness over a short period of time, it should catch your attention. That should be a sign of disingenuousness, right? Or possible fabrication or lying, right? That's one sign. The other thing to consider is effort. How much effort is going into what somebody is doing? If you see someone doing something that does not take a lot of effort, you can usually err more towards the fact that it's natural for them, and you can trust them, or you can like them, moving on the no like trust cycle, because there's very little effort. When you and I have a conversation, it flows because there's very little effort involved. But once we start like struggling to talk, then we should be asking ourselves a question like, why is this so hard to talk about? I can almost guarantee you that you can talk about very difficult things with Tom, and it's not hard to talk. But it's maybe your mom or your dad or your brothers or your sisters, it's hard to talk to them about easy things because you don't trust them, right? Or they have not earned your trust in that category. So when you've been with somebody for a while, you know what they look like over time. You know what consistent looks like for them. So now what you're looking for is effort. If you see a change in their consistency, especially a change in a short period of time, and you see what looks like effort, huge red flag that what you're dealing with now is somebody who's becoming more dishonest with you, or possibly somebody who's been dishonest from the beginning, but you weren't aware of the signs yet because you didn't have enough time to capture what we call a baseline of behavior.
How do you then see that without using trust as your mechanism to believe them? Because when I think about relationships, especially like a lot of my audience have been in abusive, narcissistic relationships. And one of the things that I hear time and time again is they were really nice to me. They were very kind at first. And over time, it started like one by one little thing, to the point where they're just blatantly lying to your face. And you don't necessarily you're not able to see it, maybe because you have all of this preconceived notion of how you feel about them and the fact that they've earned your trust already. Because I don't know if I would notice it day after day. I think, to your point, I would notice it a long period of time. But the problem is when you give someone a long period of time, they may have indoctrinated you already.
This is where it becomes really important to track consistency and effort. When someone is inconsistent in their behavior, meaning they're nice to you, and then they get less nice, and then maybe even over time they get straight up mean or abusive, right? Or even worse, they were nice to you all the time at the beginning, and now you're at a place where they're nice on Monday, mean on Tuesday. Nice on Tuesday morning, mean on Monday night. Nice when you're in public, mean when you're in private. That's massive inconsistency. Huge. That should be a red flag. And here's what's so hard, Lisa. I think to most people that is a red flag. I think most people sit there and they know that something is not right. They may not assume that the person is a narcissist. They may not assume that the person is abusive. They may give that person every benefit of the doubt, but they know something isn't right. Oftentimes, this is why women blame themselves, why they say, I'm.
Also, depending your upbringing, because this is what manipulators play on. They play on your upbringing. That's the whole conversation of, was your daddy in your life, da da da. That kind of question that involves personal questions, involve you to talk to your therapist about, not somebody on the street that you just met, or a dude you just met, or someone who's trying to, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So people's up and down emotions and back and forths and this and that, you feel like it's natural, you know?
I must be doing something wrong. I must be making him upset. If I just change this, or if I just do this, or if I just don't talk about this, or if I just don't talk to that person, right, I'll make everything better. Or they'll explain away that their partner or the other person in the relationship is going through something. Oh, it's just a hard time at work. Oh, it's just a stressful period with their parents, or whatever. They're just not dealing well with the recent news. Who knows what? They'll explain away what they already know are signs of inconsistency. A trained person, and anybody hearing this conversation, needs to understand that when you see the inconsistency, you've got to call it what it is. It's inconsistent behavior, not your problem, a change in the behavior pattern of the person that you're with. If that's coming from you, that's one thing, but don't leap to the conclusion that their inconsistency is because of you. Focus on the fact that it's an inconsistency first, because then when you look at the effort, next, that effort is going to give everything. Does more effort go into them being nice? Does more effort go into them being mean? Does more effort go into them trying to ignore you, right? Where does their effort go? There's a great saying at CIA that we all care about the things where we put our time, money, and energy, our efforts. So if you see somebody putting a lot of effort into being nice, chances are that's what they're trying to be. They really may be stressed out if you see them really trying hard to be nice. But if all their effort goes into ignoring you and being mean, that's what they care about, right? The being nice thing is just convenient and easy in the moment.
So if you were with somebody, let's say I gave you 2 hours with them, and you started to notice that, let's say, their body language and their verbal communication weren't in line, how would you start to decipher whether they're just awkward, or they've got anxiety, or they're trying to lie to you and they're just bad at covering it up?
There's multiple layers to this, because in some ways, 2 hours takes away my benefit of time. Remember, I need time, consistency, and effort.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I did it.
So if you take away my time, then the only two things I have now are consistency and effort. So what that means is I need to step out of the role of being passive and into the role of being aggressive or assertive. Instead of letting them talk, I need to ask questions. I need to direct questions. I need to probe. I need to control the situation. Oftentimes, one of the fastest ways to crack a con is to take control when they're used to having control, right? So let's just take a real quick example. Con man is trying to lure an older woman into trusting him with her money, right? More than likely, that con man is going to show his confidence by controlling the scenario. We're going to go to this restaurant. You're going to love it. I can't wait to show you this wine, and you're going to love the escargot. That's not him being nice. That's him creating a box where he can control the experience inside that box. If that woman wants to test to see if that's genuine or if that's con man behavior, all she has to do is be like, I'm not really feeling like that tonight. What I'm feeling like is tacos. How does he respond to that? If what you see is him be like, no, I really put this together for you. Like, I really want you to experience this. It's important to me. That's a man panicking. When a guy's like, tacos, that's interesting. Like, really? I'm open to tacos, but I don't know any good taco joints. That's him giving you control. Con men do not give up their control. Trained fabricators and manipulators will fight to keep control. It's natural to them because they don't know how to handle themselves outside of control, right? They have to give up control, and that makes them uncomfortable. Whereas somebody who's genuinely interested in you will let you take control, because what's their number one priority? Giving you an experience that builds your confidence and trust in them, genuinely, not in a fabricated fashion.
This may seem like a silly question, but I really do mean it genuinely. People who have OCD are control freaks. So what's the difference between someone that's just got OCD and gets nervous about change, or someone that's genuinely trying to control you?
That's where you have to trust body language and verbal cues. When you're talking to somebody with OCD and you try to take them outside of what they're comfortable in, you physically see their physiology change. You can see them start to shake. You can see them get really uncomfortable. You can almost see a fear response because this is too far outside of what they're comfortable with. That's OCD behavior. You might also see them make a shift where they want every detail about where they're going, right? Because if they're going to go to a taco joint, they want to know what's the name, what are the reviews, when was the last time somebody got food poisoning, let me ask a friend, like, who do you know that's been there? Those are OCD behaviors. When you see somebody who doubles down on keeping things their way, that is the sign of a dangerous control freak. That's not somebody who's OCD. OCD is still, they are malleable, right? But with a lot of effort. Whereas a person who just fully resists, that is a sign of somebody who's trying to maintain control. When it comes to relationships especially, if you run into somebody who's fighting for control, you don't want that person. Doesn't matter how polite they seem, doesn't matter how much other people like them, that is not what you want for the rest of your life. If they can't let you take control of tonight's movie, if they can't let you take control of the restaurant, if they can't let you take control of what day you get together, if they can't let you take control of when you have sex, if they can't let you take control of those things, especially, I'm not saying do it every time. I'm saying just periodically test the relationship to see if control is really something that's shared, right? If they're not willing to do that now, do you really want to have kids? You really want to marry bank accounts? You really want to have life insurance policies? Like, it's a huge sign that you can't trust.
I want you all to see that I want you to develop eyes that looks up and down, in and out. Be leery of those who quickly want to make you smile, and I don't trust nobody who's a happy motherfucker. This planet is fucked up. What the fuck are you happy for? And I'm the kind of person to say that. I'm the kind of woman to say, I hate men like you. Yeah, I don't fuck with that. I'm quick to say that. And that's what made me dangerous in this one situation I had with this one male. Because I kind of just went on with things and went on with things. But he eventually picked up that I hated men. You see? So the manipulation that he was playing, he didn't realize how manipulating I could be. And that wasn't my intention. See, that's the thing. Like, these are things I'm thinking about now from my mid-30s. And I'm like, damn. You know what I mean? So I encourage women to have that blunt directness, black women especially. Do you see how much people cannot stand you when you have an attitude? But see, this is where because I don't really care if a black woman has attitude, because see, you still end up getting played by these niggas at the end of the day. Or some man still plays you. Or some woman. You still get played. Okay? So you have to study people. This is the epidemic of loneliness. This is a part of it right here. People like this that talk like this, and people like me who was aware of people's fucked upness, that stayed to myself the way that I do, because I just know how fucked up people are in this world. I know what this world is. And what I know is much darker and fucked up than what I know it to be fucked up. Do you get what I'm saying? Don't give nobody the benefit of no motherfucking doubt. Yesterday, nobody can be trusted. Know the dark psychology put upon you. Don't tell your secrets. This is how dark psychology can put upon you. And also, know what it is that you are telling and what you are sharing. And why you are sharing. Does this person need to know this information? Does this person need to know this about me? Who is this fucking person? That's the real question. Who is this motherfucker? And why do I even feel like they can't even be trusted? You have to pay attention to that. And you have to pay attention to even how people approach you and things people say. You have to be vigilant. I'm not trying to make you have like PTSD and, watching over your back like that. No. I'm talking about your co-worker world. Just practice here. Your co-worker world. The relationships co-workers have with other co-workers, right? Who knows who don't like who? Pay attention to that. Pay attention to your personal close world, your family world, your friend world, your everyday interaction world. And just pay attention. My notice out here with the males, their game is cool, okay? Coming off like they cool. Coming off like they, easy to talk to. That's the game out here. And if a woman, and they force themselves in women's spaces to talk and talk and talk, because women out here don't say no. While women from the city, we walk away. See what I'm saying? Understand that these males out here are impressed by women who from out of state, because women from out of state is something special and different to them, something unique to them, something they want to emulate. And it sounds strange, but that's how it is out here. And it's always been this way. There's a lot of people who are a bit delulu. They haven't been in New York City since the 90s, and they want to say that's where they from. And they want to talk in accents and say they're British, and it's a lot of that here. One woman, one dude on, it was on an app, and he was in, was he in Charlotte? I don't think he was in Charlotte. He was somewhere, and he was like, "How long you been since you've been in New York?" And I knew who he was. That was the crazy part. Like, I knew who he was because he was a part of the friend circle of my little cousins, and he was dating some girl from the circle, because I remember when the girl liked him and when they got together. It was crazy. And I was like, and he went talking. I was like, I said, nah, I'm from Southside and da-da-da-da. And I was like, bro, I left 2021. He's like, oh, okay. And I don't think I even got to the conversation because somebody else started talking to him. He's like, yeah, I meet people, they be like, I ain't been in New York since I was 5 years old. And I just be like, get the fuck out of here. You ain't from New York. And that's how people are out here. So that's what I learned. It's a tactic of coming off cool. The women want to come off cool and be like all like the dudes and not be feminine. It's weird. I know it's weird, but this is how it is. You got the white people who want to be down with the black people type shit and talk a certain way and shit, say what up and all this type shit. This is the the way this place is. But being a very serious, stern, like mean person or mean woman, that backs these dudes off of you. Even the women too, I notice. I have women that just instantly don't like me.
Trust the person. If they are too immature to share control, you still don't want them. Let them go gain some maturity or keep your distance, right? Keep yourself safe. But you've got to look for the red flags and understand that they are red flags when you see them.
That was so well said. Okay, I've got another interesting question for you. So if I was to hook you up to a polygraph machine, and I want you to pretend that you have cheated on your wife, and now I've got you hooked up to a polygraph, and I ask you questions. How would you pass the polygraph?
The polygraph is one of the least understood tools by the American public. I don't know if you knew this. Polygraph is not accessible. It's not acceptable evidence in a court case. Polygraphs don't actually tell you if someone's being truthful or dishonest. They're called a lie detector test, but they don't actually detect lies. What they detect is something called sensitivity. So the idea is that a human polygrapher will be able to interpret the data from a polygraph and make a conclusion about whether or not you are sensitive to a certain topic. Meaning you're sensitive to a topic about drugs, or you're sensitive to a topic about murder, or you're sensitive to a topic about abuse. And then that sensitivity is supposed to be what a trained interrogator can dig into, right? That's why polygraphs are not admissible in court, because they're not actually detecting truthfulness, they're detecting sensitivity. So when you think
if a man really hated ads, here's what he would do. Day 1, he would install Pi on his computer without spending a dime because it's 100% free. Day 2, he realizes.
When you think about that, you realize that passing and failing don't really exist. You can't pass or fail a lie detector. All you're doing in a polygraph is you're creating a baseline of what you are and are not sensitive to. So using that understanding, anybody who wants to beat a polygraph essentially can. You beat the polygraph by making the polygraph results null and void. Essentially what that means is you show sensitivity to everything.
Oh, I thought you were going to go the opposite. Don't show sensitivity to anything.
It's so remember we talked about liars? You can tell when someone's lying because they put a lot of effort into something. The amount of effort that goes into acting calm is much less effort than the effort that goes into actually being nervous. So when somebody is on a lie detector trying to act calm, there will be a physiological tell that gives them away. I don't know if have you ever done a polygraph?
No, I'm fascinated.
We should get you organized.
Oh my God, I would love to.
They're so uncomfortable. So just some of the elements, they measure your heart rate, they measure your body temperature, they measure your sphincter control, they measure your muscle movements, and then they also measure like your eyebrows or your facial movements. So all of those, to control all of those things simultaneously takes so much effort that your heart rate would increase and your body temperature would increase, right? Whereas if you sat down in a polygraph and all you did was just think about all the most uncomfortable things in the world, think about ants crawling up your shorts, think about cold weather, think about whatever else, and all of those different body parts are going to start to react in inconsistent ways, right? You're going to move in your seat because you don't want to, like, you can feel the ants crawling on you. That's going to throw off your sphincter control. You're going to feel your muscles tensing. Sometimes it's your calf, sometimes it's your shoulder, sometimes it's your forearms. That's going to throw off the muscle detention. Heart rate's going to increase, decrease, increase again, decrease again. Blood pressure is going to increase, decreasing. That's going to make the polygrapher look at the polygraph results and say, I can't interpret any sensitivity. It's totally independent of the questions. I ask about drugs, they're weird. I ask about abuse, they're weird. I ask about what's your real name, what's your real birthday, and the physiology is different. So, I mean, what the bad part of a polygrapher or the bad part of a polygraph is anybody can beat it by simply making the results null. And that's what polygraphers have to deal with. And that's why FBI, CIA, DEA, we all hate the polygraph because it's an impossible tool when they use it against you, you're like, dude, I had bad Indian food last night. I swear I'm not a spy.
That's why I'm sweating. That's why my heart's racing.
But the polygrapher is like, no, we caught you in the act. And you're like, no, you didn't catch me in
That's funny. So It's the feeling I had yesterday, right? At work. And I was like, one thing is, if you get a slight feeling that someone doesn't like you, they don't like you. Or there's something about you that they don't like you. I need you to understand that. I'm noticing people who, this is where I've been tricked, okay? When I've been being down here. I noticed that people who, been down here and say they're from somewhere, like, they've been here since the 90s or been in New York since they were teenagers and they're still here. Yes, they may still visit where they come from, but there's a personality that comes with them that I see. They still have that untrustworthy northern energy about them, but they have the face of southern hospitality because they've developed that because they are from the city and they have been here, do visit back and forth, right? So this is a trickery I try to be very careful with because I tend to vibe with other New Yorkers, tend to vibe with people who are West Indian, and so I try to be mindful of that. I can't hide where I'm from. I have an accent. Even if I picked up Southern, I still have an accent. And I have a voice that's raspy and it carries. This is why a lot of times I don't like to talk because I can bring so much attention in the room when I do speak. This is why I don't like to get, especially if I walk into a business establishment, I'm very business. I'm like, how much is this? My partner, she's from here, so she's the one who puts on the faces and shit. Because one time we had got out the car to go to a smoke shop here, and the lady was like, I need to see your ID before we came in, and somebody this that. She was just running her mouth about nothing. I can't stand people like that. And then she went on talking about her son going to jail. And I had to ask her, I was like, T, did I tell her that I was a law-abiding citizen? She didn't remember, and I didn't remember either. And when she was talking about her son and the cops pulling him over, I don't know what I said. I promise you, I'll probably have to ask T, like, what the fuck did I say? And the way she looked at me, it's like whatever game, whatever she was trying to run, it didn't work. And I held my tongue because, see, understand something. I literally had a neighbor have her son knock on my door just so she can see what I look like. And I'm the kind of person to be like, oh, your mommy knocked on my door so she could see what I look like, or you didn't have to have him knock on the door so you could see what I look like. We neighbors. I could have did that. But the thing with me is, it could be the Libra in me. You don't want to let people know how sharp you are. You don't want people to know how witty you can be. And I'm going to speak for myself, okay? I'm just giving you an example. The lady, now I don't remember what the fuck she said and what I said back. But whatever I said back, I did not give her what she was expecting the response to be. I got a problem. These are Caucasians down here. These are not white immigrants. White immigrants are a lot more smarter. They're very much more honest about their interactions with you. They stay to themselves. These are Caucasians down here. And I don't like these fucking Caucasians down here. I don't give a fuck about your son and the cops. Don't you dare think that I can relate to this experience because I'm a black woman. I can't relate. And that's another thing for black women. I don't give a fuck if you can relate. You tell these motherfuckers I don't live like that. That I don't live like that. That one gets to people very badly. That offends people. I don't live like that. You understand? I can't relate. Can't relate to that. So sorry you went through that. I can't relate. So sorry you feel that way, because that pisses people off. So sorry you feel that way. I can't relate.
Shit, you're gonna catch me in shit if you keep me here much longer.
That's amazing. Okay, so we actually said something there looking at the facial expression. So explain to me a few things, because I mean, look, you've heard, I think there's so much myth out there as well about, and I've heard you say, if you look up to the left, it means you're lying. If you look up to the right, it means you're telling the truth. Like, there's just a lot of myths out there. But what are like some of the universal, like, okay, these actually are true. It's not in and of itself an example of, yes, they are lying, but yeah, I'm really trying to think about that woman that's listening right now. And when you trust someone and you give over that trust and then they lie to you, you do blame yourself. And then sometimes you never trust again.
Yeah.
So I understand it's never black and white, but what are some of the things that we can maybe look out for?
You learn that no one can be trusted ever again. You learn that no one can be trusted. I'll put it like this. My mother has Mercury in Pisces. Okay? She's very good at what she does. She's had enough youthful, young life experience to be what she is and do the things that she do. And she is still my mother. And therefore, the traits of her I have in me. So I do acknowledge that, because she's still my mother. She's the one that I was inside of her belly for 9 months. Okay? So what I'm saying is, I just look at it and I allow it. And then there came a time where I set a boundary and she didn't like it. You understand? But that's just the relationship I had to learn to develop with her. Because that's the first, to understand, I am a child. 2 Cancer aunties, a Cancer uncle, a Scorpio uncle, an Aries aunt with a Gemini moon, okay? And a mother who's an Aquarius with a Virgo moon and Mercury and Pisces. Everybody always says, goddamn, poor baby. Everybody tells me that. I'm so sorry, poor baby. Everybody tells me that. My point is, the Cancer aunts taught me how to steal as a child. Okay? And as a child, these 2 aunts taught me how to steal. They told me I will be rewarded for helping them steal as a child. That to the age of 13, 14, I got a thrill out of stealing from stores and people, that it kept getting more and more and more. And it was one time with a Spanish guy. He caught me, but that's because I made too much noise. I always tell this story. And I never stole again. I was like, damn, I stole so goddamn sloppy. You know what I mean? Then there were times when I got older, I felt like robbing people. I did. I felt like robbing people. I remember in high school, it's like, I don't think you should go to jail for robbing a bank. Why did I think like this? Because that's the making of me since a child. So you have people, they have mastered some style of manipulation. I think there's styles of manipulation. They have mastered it due to their personal experiences, due to the fact it has started in their childhood, that they're so good at you not seeing it. It's interesting because the woman at work that I'm cool with used to be on that stuff. So she knows, she's very likable. And she knows how to keep people liking her, doing for her, things like that. Like she's shared her blacks with me. So now I'm going to buy a pack of blacks and give her a pack of blacks. You see what I'm saying? These little gestures can keep things balanced. Even if I sense that this person doesn't like me, the manipulation in me, let me keep it balanced and buy her a pack of blacks. I don't have a problem with her. Most of the time I don't have problems with people, but they have problems with me. I don't think she has a problem with me. I think she just, why are you not sharing? You see what I'm saying? Because I think that's what I feel it is. You know what I'm saying? But I have to move strategic because the lady that she's close to doesn't like me at all. She puts on a smile, but she doesn't like me. And so I have to be careful because she can be still giving her information. Do you get what I'm saying? You have to play chess every time. You can't slip. Don't ever think when the situation is that convoluted, you have to never put your guard down. There's another person that I like at work, right? But then I start realizing, but you're cool with someone I don't fucking like. This person over here, we have a money relationship. So she's not going to give a fuck about nothing because this is where our conversation is. This is the boundaries of compartmentalizing with the people in my life. I know I'm talking about coworkers here, but I'm trying to help you understand how I think and how I compartmentalize everything. That family member that I talked to, who I didn't really grow up with, but I grew up with, I was down here. I realized, you can't be trusted because I caught these vibes from you when I told you this information that nobody knows. But eventually I'm going to have to tell the truth about how many children I have. Do you see what I'm saying? Or maybe not. See what I'm saying? So when that happens, I'm trying to get you to understand before he gets into the next part that anything, listen to me, I'm going to say it again. Anything that's in balance, meaning you met when you interacted with somebody, you ain't like each other, you ain't get along, you keep that same energy. Even if they smile and be nice and try to be nicey with you, you keep that same energy. You don't forget that. Don't let people tell you that's petty. Petty things mean a lot. It is petty, but the little petty things, the little particular things, how about we call petty things particular things? They mean a lot. You get what I'm saying? Because what I had to stop doing with that coworker who's like the op, right? I'm just saying that for the show, but I don't know the person for them to be my op. That particular person, I had to say to myself, let me stop being such a snake and telling this person I don't want to deal with her and that person I don't want to deal with her, this, that, and the third. And stop being a snake when she behind me, I don't hold the door for her. I stopped doing all that. Because now I'm looking like a victim here and I'm nobody's victim. You see, that's where I wised up with it, where I just don't give a fuck. Do I have an attitude if I got to work on that person's team? I do. But I'm learning how to not do that no more. Because today I have to work with that person. And so I told myself, you know what? I ain't worried about it. I just put that energy up. I just put that guard up. And I'm good to go. Just motherfucking work, right? All right. So, yeah.
Especially, oh God, I hate infidelity. But that's the biggest one that really wrecks so many of us women, where we trust our partner, we believe them, we believe some crazy idea. When we're out of that relationship, we're like, I can't believe I believed that.
Right.
But when you're in it, you, as a woman, you do tie your emotion to that person. So are there any things that we can just in general look at that can be signs that they're not telling you the truth?
So yes, there are. And here's what I would say. I want to use kind of a very simple 3-part solution that works 90% of the time.
Okay.
okay? But not 100% of the time, because cultures are different, people are different, right? If you're dating somebody who's on the spectrum,
Oh, yeah.
they will be totally different than somebody who's highly emotional. If you're dating a creative person, but you're an accountant, you're going to react completely different to things, right? So that's why there's 3 steps. There's 3 steps because you can never trust any one piece of data. The goal is always get yourself to a position where you have more options and can collect more information. If there's a rule of thumb I would have for every woman out there, put yourself in a position where you have more options and collect more information. As long as you have more options and more information, you will always have what we call information superiority over the situation, right? So,
And this is where I made a mistake. But I'm going to tell you, this is where I made a mistake. And I'm going to be honest about the mistake I made. I felt like my life was too closed in. And I haven't experienced enough, and I haven't experienced people enough. I haven't went out there enough to understand life and people's trickeries and games. So I subconsciously went out there to have these experiences to learn. Because once I got it once and once I got it again, that was it for me. It was 2 different people that taught me so much for one experience. And then that's the path of celibacy that has started for me.
whatever choice you make, more options, more information. So you're with somebody. You want to know if they're lying. You suspect infidelity. The first kind of question I want to teach people to ask is a time-based question. The human brain, it works in a very rational, very logical way whenever time is presented, because time is one of those things that is universal. It doesn't matter whether or not you're like of a tribe that's undiscovered in Africa or whether you're part of, Western high society. Everybody knows time is a one-way direction. And most of us visualize time, physically visualize time as a chronology that goes in the same direction as we read. Mm-hmm. So you see time going from left to right. Mm-hmm. Chinese see time going from top to bottom.
Right.
Right.
Japanese is from right to left, right?
There you go. So you've got all these people who are going to see time through the lens of a chronology that is the direction that they read. Have you ever watched somebody read a book?
Yes.
You can literally see their eyes move.
Yeah.
You can do the same thing when you ask someone a time-based question.
Ah.
So I'll just give you a real quick example. Lisa, when was the last time you had a really good steak? Stop right there. Everybody who's watching just saw all I needed to see. Your eyes moved to the left.
Yeah, they did.
Your eyes moved to the left because you were referencing the chronology from today. When was the last time I had a good steak? So if you're asking somebody a time-based question and you see their eyes move to the left, up, down is indifferent. But if you see their eyes move to the left, you know they're referencing their chronology in their brain because that's how they read for Western society. So whatever you were about to say, you were genuinely trying to find the right time. If I were to say, what was the last time you had a good steak and your eyes were just stay still or even get bigger, now I know you're fighting your instinct. Fighting your instinct takes effort. Effort is one of the 3 things that you look for when you know that someone's lying to you or when you suspect someone's lying to you, right? So the first kind of question is a time-based question. You think someone's having an affair? Where were you last night? I was
So if they just stare
work.
you right in your eye, that can be a sign.
That can be a sign. Or if they look to the right, because when they look to the right, looking right gets your creative brain. Mm-hmm. Your creative brain means you're coming up with a story, right? So where was I last night? Well, I was obviously working out at the gym, right? I'm trying to find a story. I'm trying to be creative. I'm not trying to reference my true chronology. Right? Even worse, you see someone, I'm trying to reference, oh, that's what I was doing. No, what I mean is, anybody who's still listening to this conversation can literally rewind just a few seconds and watch how fast you looked to the left. It happens that fast, which is why I don't tell people that it's a one-stop shop. The second kind of question to ask is a feelings question, an emotional question. Because when you ask somebody feeling questions, you see all sorts of micro expressions in their face because they react to a feeling. Right? So I was telling you a story earlier. Just neutralize your face. If you want to, you can close your eyes. Right?
I'll try and keep them open.
Keep them open. All right. What was it like the first time you met? The thing we need right there. Whatever you're about to say, it's going to be true.
I didn't even say anything.
That's all we need.
Why?
That's all, because everybody watching just saw your eyes move to the left, and as soon as your eyes moved to the left, you landed on a memory, and as soon as you landed on the memory, all of your smile muscles started to kick in.
Yeah, you're so right. I was just like, oh, well, when did I first meet him? Oh my God, when I saw his face.
The hands are connected to the heart. Okay, want to let you know that. Also, this is why males or people who like you look into your eyes with that very still eye look, and they try not to move, turn to. This is why they do that. It's a game. People also try to entertain because they don't want you to pay attention to their body language and their eye movements. We're going to get into body languages next. We could see that when she met Tom, she was very happy because this still image, you see a big smile on her face that she really loves Tom. That's sweet. This is interesting because it makes me think about myself and how in my voice tells how I feel about somebody. So whenever I talk about T, you can hear it in my voice that I have feelings for T. You know what I'm saying? It's sad, but when I talk about certain family members, unless it's my grandma, you can hear the difference in my voice, or my brother, or this and that. So I know that with me, I can't hide how I feel inside of my voice. And a lot of people can't hide how they feel inside of their voice. A lot of times, very manipulative people speak in a very deep tone all the time. And they're always saying slick shit. Like, real manipulative people do that all the time. People who are always trying to manipulate. They're always talking from a certain kind of tone. I'm not saying there's not people out here who are like sincerely happy, smiley people and nod, but there's some people, if you pay attention, they're just doing their job and they're putting on a character. Like, I noticed one of the quality managers, he puts on that nod and that face, but you also can tell when he means business, when he opens to make sure that the product is good and making sure it's at the standing, at the standard that it was supposed to be. And I feel like he's a Virgo, so he looks like one, dresses like one too. And so that is his, we all know not to play with him when he comes around. We all hope we don't get a bad review from him. You get what I'm saying? But I can tell. See, that's the thing about this too. You have to be able to tell. But see, in the work world, you are a character. In the work world, you are being what the job is requiring you to be. Like, there's no reason to be honest. You can be honest and authentic, but you ain't got to be that honest. Like, it's work. You still have to play a place. You still have to know your place at work. Because you don't know anybody. No matter how many years you've been there, you don't fucking know nobody. And I know one thing at work I'm going to stop doing. Every time these motherfuckers got boxes because family members died or something, and motherfuckers in motorcycle accidents and this type of bullshit, I'm a motherfucking need some proof. I'm not giving my little $2, $3 for that shit. I'm tired of that shit. Because it was a time I was like, people don't lost somebody, and this, that, and the third. And I even asked one chick, I said, how's your family doing? Her brother's supposed to have died and shit. And she was like, oh, I don't know. And I'm like, didn't this bitch brother die? What she mean she don't know?
That's so wow.
That's what happens. So feeling questions are almost impossible to control. Because once you have a feeling, your face starts to represent the feeling, right? So if you think someone's being untrustworthy, if you feel like someone's cheating on you, you can ask them a feeling question and see what their response is, right? You can ask them you can say something like, I was feeling really lonely last night. How does that make you feel? And if you see them have a flat face, that's a warning sign. If what you see is concern in their face right away, if what you see is worry in their face right away, that's how you know that they're empathizing with you, which they're supposed to do because they care about you. If what you see on their face is the opposite of empathy, if what you see on their face is surprise or shock or that's stupid or that's silly or something humorous, right? That's another red flag that they're putting effort into a response that is inconsistent with the question, right? Especially if I felt really worried last night, where were you? If their immediate response is like surprise, and then they're like, oh, I'm sorry to hear that, right? All that effort into changing the direction of their face, you're looking for that effort. And then if on top of that, you see them look to the right, or if on top of that, you see solid eye contact, now you've got two.
One thing that somebody does is, that's a deceitful reaction too. And we already know if somebody gets manipulating, arguing and shit like that, we know for sure that that's a highly damn near narcissistic, manipulative way of reacting. But he's giving you subtle clues, right? Of understanding and feeling people. And I just feel like this, and I'm going to keep it a buck with you. If you feel any type of leeriness with somebody, just go with it. Don't get caught up with nothing else. Don't get caught up with what does this person do for me? And I can tell you as a Mercury and Virgo, or just the Virgo energy period, that's how people get you. What they do for you. What they make it appear like on the outside. But that's not what's really going on. What you feel matters more than anything. You understand what I'm saying? I sit here and I have a lot of experiences with a lot of people. And it's like a maintenance guy I know that comes here. He don't like me. It's me. It don't matter. He just don't like me. Okay? He has to be the maintenance man and play his part because I've sensed that he probably just don't like women up north, period. Because that's the thing. You get the ones who have this kind of praise and admiration, weird shit, and you have the ones that just completely don't like you because you are from up north, because a lot of them are not who they say that they are. Bella, get down. Get down. Are you okay? Oh boy, my bad, y'all. Let's go.
Indicators that person is lying, right? So feelings questions and time-based chronological questions. The third thing that you want to look for is you want to look for change in the consistency of their voice patterns. So what you're doing is you're listening to see how the tempo of their voice changes, potentially how their vocabulary changes, because now what you're doing is you're asking a question and you're introducing a topic, and you want to see whether or not their consistency shifts. Remember, we talked about effort, time, and consistency. Now you're testing their consistency. So when you say something like, I think that you were out last night with a different person, tell me why that's not true, right? If you want to be confrontational. If you don't want to be confrontational, you can be like, tell me about your night last night so I can distract myself. Oh, well, I was playing golf with my 9-iron and I had a fantastic 300-foot, 150-yard hit on hole number 8. You're like, this is all vocabulary that you don't normally use with me. This is a word, a tempo that has changed.
Every time she jumps like that, I jump. Listen. When you're in a relationship, you already know about somebody day. Unless you're asking about their work day. You already know about somebody day. When you're in a relationship. When you're in a relationship, you already... What the fuck is that? You already have these conversations. Routine is the highest way that people cheat. That's the biggest way of cheaters. Number one is routine.
Changed. You went from a flow of a certain number of words per minute to now you're slowed down or you've sped up, right? You're showing signs of panic or you're showing signs of active creation. These are changes that originated from the question. Whereas when someone's being truthful, their tempo doesn't change. Their pace doesn't change. Their level of vocabulary doesn't go up or down. They don't start speaking at a 9th grade level. They don't drop down to a 3rd grade level. They keep right with you, right where they're at. You don't start to see them use technical terms. This is something I catch my mother in all the time. Mom, if you're watching, I know when you're lying, right? Because my mom gets into very technical terms, very technical terms.
Why is that?
She's a nurse. And what she's trying to do is she's trying to compensate for her fabrication by demonstrating expertise. So when I ask my mom, like, how do you feel about the fact that your brothers or your sisters or my sisters and my cousins, how do you feel about some situation? When she's like, oh, I think it's fine. I mean, it's obvious that they're dealing with their own pain from grandma's death and this is the XYZ of ABC of whatever else. I'm like, you're not okay with it. You lied right out of the gates. You're not okay with it. You have major problems with it. And this is you hiding your pain by overwhelming with expertise. You've heard of mansplaining? That is what mansplaining is. Mansplaining is men oftentimes lying by getting overly technical and making you feel bad about yourself for even asking the question.
Oh, seriously, dude, that was such an amazing breakdown. And I love how specific it is to, like, there has to be the combination. If you just see one thing, because I never want someone to go, oh my God, you're lying right now because you just did that one thing. But being able to use these tools as part of our tool belt in order to make sure that we can protect ourselves, I think is so powerful. I've got some cases now, actually, that I'd love to go over where people have legitimately lied, and I'd love to actually just hear your expertise on why people fell for it and just like you're thinking about how it got to that point. So the first one I actually want to bring up is sadly in today's news about P. Diddy. So he was accused of sexual assault from Cassie the singer and multiple women, including past artists that he managed. He was also accused of sex trafficking and domestic abuse. So the producer accused Diddy of grooming him to have sex with another man. Diddy told him, don't worry, this is totally normal in the music industry. A model called Crystal McKinney also accused Diddy of drugging her and forcing oral sex. And after all of these accusations came out, Diddy finally released an infamous now IG video that just says enough is enough. And what he says in this video is, for the last couple of weeks, I have sat silently and watched people try to assassinate my character, destroy my reputation and my legacy. Sickening allegations have been made against me by individuals looking for a quick payday. Let me be absolutely clear. I did not do any of the awful things being alleged. I will fight for my name, my family, and for the truth. And then, a week later, the video of him actually abusing Cassie came out.
Let's just look at this through our lens of effort, time, and consistency.
That was a very good question.
Clearly, Diddy is lying. Without a doubt, he's lying. You can even empirically conclude that he's going to lie because he has a team of attorneys. And what are those attorneys all saying? They're all saying that what he needs to do is remain consistent, because attorneys know how this works. So by seeing Diddy go back and forth, enough is enough, but then he also comes out and he's like, well, I did actually do that bit of abuse because it was my all-time low point. That was when I hit rock bottom.
So he gave a reason to why he did it.
But he's breaking. But he's breaking that consistency.
His mother's a nurse. So that tells me a lot about him. Because we know that nurses are mean and evil.
Consistency. So the fact that we see the inconsistency is a big part of what makes this story so interesting to the public, because he's violating consistency, which immediately makes you distrust him, because you're like, well, you said that you didn't do it. Now you're saying that you did do it. Which one is it, buddy? And obviously, if you said that you did do it once. Does that mean that you did do it multiple times? Right? So, we have to assess based on the information. He has lied in the past. He will most likely lie again in the future. And he is being coached to lie because he is being coached to remain consistent by his team of attorneys. That's just natural evolution of things, right? So over time, you've had multiple witnesses with multiple stories. The stories are unique and different. With common themes. Drugging is a theme. Sex is a theme. Large social parties is a theme. Short temper is a theme, right? When you look at the themes over time for multiple people, you have multiple bits of evidence. And going back that far in time, that wasn't always public knowledge. That video that happened in the hotel that was recorded in the past came out in the present, right? It's rock solid evidence to show there's inconsistency over time. That's what we're looking for, right? And then effort. Diddy's putting a whole hell of a lot of effort into this. Not only is he putting physical time, he's putting his fortune into it. He's got great attorneys into it. I mean, he is working so hard to try to make people believe that he's innocent. That kind of effort is a huge giveaway when you're dealing with a known liar.
Really, you wouldn't think that, let's say Diddy was innocent, you wouldn't think that he would do that? He would put his money behind it?
So what trained people are trained to do is let time do the work for you, right? Think about huge controversies from the past, right? When Bill Cosby was accused of sexual misdeviance and abuse and all that other stuff, when that happened—
He gave them that, like, the date rape drug, and then he would have sex with them.
Right. So when that happened for Bill Cosby, there was a short period of time where the accusations were made, but then what you saw was silence. And that's why now, while you and I are talking about it, I can't even remember his name, right? Because trained professionals, so a very good attorney team or a very good litigation team for him, let him know, like, hey, the best thing to do is just stay quiet. Do you know why you never hear CIA defend itself?
No, I never thought
Because they already know you're going to forget. Once you defend yourself, you bring credibility to the accusation. So the best thing to do is not even defend yourself, right? One of the things—
When I realized in life that I talk too damn much and that it was presented to me that way, and I started going into a complete silence, it became my weapon.
Things that I think the best influencers online do, and that I try to emulate, is people attack the best influencers all the time. They attack them with all sorts of things. And the best influencers don't respond. They don't react because they know that two things. By not reacting, they're not validating the claim. And two, there will always be people who want to attack. So professionally trained, you let them attack and you ignore their attacks, and you recognize that them attacking a wall is going to either bore them over time, or it's going to turn into more people who are attacking, and more people who are attacking is just more engagement. The algorithm likes it more. People like the attention, whatever else. So there was Bob Saget was remember, he was a wholesome family man in was it Family Matters? Is that what the sitcom was? It was something like that. Full House. Thank you very much. He was a wholesome family man in Full House, and then it came out that his comedy was actually really gross. It was sexual and it was full of swear words and everything else. And there was controversy about it for a long time. He didn't say anything about it. He was just like, this is my comedy, and there's a difference between my comedy and my role in Full House. The end. Now people let it go. People don't even think about it. People don't talk about it. Now it's totally normal when you see a comedian who's vulgar in one situation and totally normal in another situation. Trained people know that low effort is going to be perceived as honesty. So Diddy is putting a whole hell of a lot of effort into this. If he was truly innocent, let the evidence carry the route for you. Let the lawyers, let the process do its thing, and you'll be fine. But instead, he's got to put effort into it because he knows he's fabricating.
Wow. So how much of him being powerful was part of what he'd potentially, because obviously he hasn't been convicted yet or anything like that, is part of how he was able to maybe hide the lie.
Yeah.
So how does a lie get hidden so much? Is it the power that's behind it?
Yes, in short, it's the power that's behind it. But let's be honest here. We like lies.
Oh, go on.
Don Combs is a monster.
I want to speak about this now because I witnessed everything.
I've known Sean since he was 40.
Go on.
We like lies. We all like lies.
Give me an example.
You won't tell people the truth about the things that you're the most ashamed or vulnerable about, even if they ask directly, right? But if you ask someone else a direct question, you don't like it when they avoid your question.
That's so true.
So we like to, because we know inherently that lies protect us. Lies are a shield. Lies, we have a saying at CIA, that lies are valuable, but the truth is powerful, right? Lies are valuable because they hide an advantage. They hide an informational advantage. They protect an informational advantage.
No answer is an answer. I was telling T that. I said, no answer is an answer.
Advantage. They hide sensitivities, they hide vulnerabilities, they hide weakness. They increase your survivability. They increase your strength for long-term survival, right? So lies are a good thing, and we all like lies. We lie to our kids, we lie to our spouses, we lie to our jobs, we lie to our bosses. We even file false claims for insurance and for all sorts of stuff. We love to lie because we know that lying will keep us safe. What we don't like is being lied to. And that is a disconnect in the cognitive brain where we feel entitled to lie when it protects us, but we do not feel comfortable when we're being lied to in a way that prevents.
See everybody as a motherfucking liar. We are going to quote Littlefinger from Game of Thrones. And no, you are not a mammy if you watch Game of Thrones. You need to watch that because Game of Thrones is a great psychological study, especially for women, about the patriarch. Written by a male, a big fat male who's a historian, okay? So when you're being told that you're a mammy because you watch Game of Thrones, you need to go watch Game of Thrones. Because you're not a mammy. You're a very intellectual and a very smart woman, and you're digging and you're researching, as you should. Okay? Littlefinger said everyone is a liar. And that's what he told Sansa. The one everybody talk about, right? And he lied to her. He deceived her. And then she got in the hands of the most sickest motherfucker. And I promise you, he's between a Virgo or a Pisces. A sick-ass motherfucker who abused the shit out of her. And through that, she learned how to play the mind games in this patriarch. And then through that, she also, excuse me, spoiler alert here, got back at Littlefinger for what he did. And you would not have expected her to be the one to do it, but she got him. And before she took him out, she said, "Thank you for all you have taught me." She said that. "Thank you for all you have taught me." Appreciate the people who have lied to you, the people who have deceived you. I want you to appreciate it. And I want you to also understand, as Littlefinger said, the pinky finger is ruled by Venus, by the way. Everyone is a fucking liar. So when you get lied to, You won't get mad. Unless there is some kind of contractual, spiritual, emotional obligation or feelings to somebody, then address it. But everyone's a fucking liar.
Prevents us from getting what we want, essentially threatening our survival because now you have information I don't have and I don't like the way that feels, right? So the reason that this is important is because CIA teaches every field officer out there will always be lies and everybody will forever lie. Just accept it. Understand that truth, and then that's going to make it that much more powerful and that much more effective when you have tools to find the truth. Like the 3 questions that we talked about, like understanding that people's instinctive response is to lie first. I think the average person tells 2 to 3 lies a day, and people who fabricate excessively tell between 7 and 12 lies a day, right? So what that means is even the most honest people tell 2 to 3 lies a day, right? And those can be white lies, where I don't like your pants, but I tell you I do. Or those can be big lies, where I tell you that I was at the gym when I was really with another woman.
How does that connect then to the power? Let's say, so P. Diddy, I'm trying to grasp at how do people just not speak up when they see the lie or the manipulation immediately? And it made me think about credibility, title. So he's famous, he's a rapper, he's been around for a long time. So you kind of feel like you trust him because you know him.
It falls into, not this facial expression.
Same with our.
That face is fine. Okay, it falls into self-reflection. Why do people feel it's okay to lie to you? What are you lying about? Why do people always try to use you? How are you using people? You see what I'm saying? Why do you experience these people where people betray you? Where are you betraying yourself? That's what these experiences give. Okay? That's what these life experiences tell you. Because the reason you do that for yourself is because when you go out there to the world with other people and you analyze other people and you vet other people, you vet their life, you vet what's going on with them, right? You vet, how do I say this? If they're being used, if the other parent don't want nothing to do with them, right? Or has abandoned them and the children, or wants nothing to do with the children. If they got friends that are not real and all these type of things, you look at that because that's telling you something about them. If you attracted this friendship that is not a sincere friendship, what is this person not being sincere about? If this person's attracting a user, then there's something about them that's a user. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to not, this is coming from a Libra, because one thing Libras do is we want to protect and defend the people that we like or we call friends or people we believe that we love. Notice, believe that we love, right? So we'll quickly be like, well, you don't need to be talking to that friend, and this person's no good for you, and that person you're in a partnership with, you know what I'm saying? I help you by doing this and that, and you need to get rid of them, this and that. Libra instantly goes into protection. And so coming from a Libra perspective, talking to you all, a Libra with a Scorpio rising, by the way, and Moon in the 12th house next to Pluto, Saturn in Scorpio in the 1st house next to Venus in Scorpio, okay? Just put that out there for you. And I have a stellium in my 2nd house in Sagittarius, right? All right. I'm telling you, learn how to look on the outside of them to reflect what's going on with them. This is what's happening to a lot of women that have these relationships of multiple children, multiple through baby fathers, relationships where they thought they were going to get married and they don't get married. This is how all of this stuff begins to happen to them, because whether you want to believe it or not, you have to look at what is going on around them, because that tells you something about who they are. See, things of situations where people have crappy parents, right? Parents who are users, parents who abuse them, right? Parents who really don't love them, because it happens out here, right? It could be mother, father, whoever doesn't really love them, abandonment, broken, damaged, or whatever energy that you want to say about those type of people. You gotta understand, with dealing with someone like that, you get two people. You get someone who's extremely clingy, possessive, and it's going to be hard to let them go, or more so hard for them to let you go. Or number two, you're going to get somebody who's not going to have the capacity of love and or trust for somebody else. And so therefore, you may be in the hands of someone who's a cheater, a liar, a deceiver, who plays a lot of little mind games and stuff like that, because they don't really trust, get abused by their parents, and there's something abusive about them. You get what I'm saying? They're going to have something about them that is going to be abusive towards you. And you might have to just pay attention. Well, this person is being abused by their parents, and this person have parents that don't care about them. That's a big one, because our parents are our livelihood. Our parents is everything, right? There are people who they can't stop talking about their parents, and it's hard to let go of that narcissistic, psychopathic, whatever connection. That's the most karmic soulmate connection in people's lives, is their goddamn parents. Even a step parent who played a part in your life is a part of some kind of soulmate karmic fucking connection. And so when you see these different type of relationships going on in this person's life that can be very abusive and narcissistic, I guaranteed you, in that person that you're with, they have those same traits. If they were abused and beat as a child, guaranteed you something about them is going to be abusive. See how that clicks now? There's nothing wrong with being judgmental. You just got to know how to judge. I like the words analyze. You just have to know, because judgment is a part of analyzing. You have to know how to analyze that which you see. And I understand why Libra is the scales of the balance, and Libra is the zodiac sign of the judge, because that is how you do it. Because Libra is the first zodiac sign that reflects another zodiac sign, which is the most selfish zodiac sign, which is Aries. But why does Libra reflect such a selfish zodiac sign? Because Libras are selfish, or something about Libra can be very, very selfish, very controlling. Remember, Aries is a very narcissistic. Aries is what they call the narcissistic zodiac sign. And then some say that Pisces is the covert narcissist. And then we have Virgo on the other side. And we have met plenty of Virgos who are very big covert fucking narcissists or malignant narcissists. So in Human Nature, which we'll be listening to that book too, this is a natural part of life and people. And this is how you're getting to know them, by watching what's going on around them. People who don't have anything going on around them, unless they have unless they're a loner, they really want to deal with people, somebody got something going on. And that's when you have to ask the proper questions and dig to know what's going on around that person, their life, and this, that, the third, that you're dealing with closely like that. Because, yeah, why does it keep happening to somebody like that? Why do they keep experiencing these things? Why is it they were just in a relationship with somebody and they do 3 months, probably do 7 months, and then it's over and it don't work out. And then here they are over here with another person and this, that, and the third. A lot of people call that narcissist. And then you also find that that same person, now I'm speaking for myself in this case, has a malignant narcissist fucking parent. You get what I'm saying? So even with myself, and I was thinking about this yesterday, I was like, I can be X, Y, and Z, and I have just a little bit of narcissism in me. But then I think about my life and my experiences and the people around me, and then I look at the person at work who I'm cool with the most, and I realize it's all a pattern. And I look at the person I care about very dearly, and I realize it's all a pattern. So even with dark psychology, you are doing your own internal shadow work. Because Neville Goddard talks about everything of our experience with people in life is a reflection of us. So that malignant narcissist in your life, you have to reflect internally of where's the malignant narcissist in me? You don't see, that's the thing too. The dark psychology of yourself, you might not want to accept the reality that you are narcissistic, but your narcissism may not be that deep as the person that you attracted the narcissism with. You might not want to accept that this malignant narcissist mother, you have the same type of traits. You see what I'm saying? But this is so good. I really like this guy, and I really like this interview. And she's a good interviewer.
Like the same type of situation where they're saying like you like them, they're good looking, they're talented. And so it's almost like, which is terrible, but you kind of trust them more. If it's true, where people have been hiding P. Diddy's lies. What is that contribution? Is it the power that he holds in society? Is it the power he holds over that person?
Remember how we just talked about how everybody likes lies?
Yeah.
One of the things we like about lies is because lies give us an advantage, right? What is that advantage? When you can align the advantage somebody wants with the lie that they keep, then you have the ability to keep a lie secret. So if you're paying somebody, the Diddy story is a fantastic example because some people kept the lie because they were scared. They had seen the abuse. They had seen the violence and they didn't want to be next on the list. Some people kept the lie because they didn't want to lose their job. They had a fantastic job in a big company. They were making tons of money. The sky was the limit, so they kept the secret because they wanted to protect their job. Some people kept the lie because they wanted an opportunity to be at the right-hand side of Diddy, to be the next featured artist, to be the next, Billboard top hit, right? So they kept the lie because they wanted the opportunity. The lie was the advantage they all had, and they all kept it secret because it was feeding an advantage that they needed. Here's the thing that nobody wants to really talk about. We think that Diddy is an exception. We think R. Kelly is an exception. We think Michael Jackson is an exception. Folks, how many times do you have to see a super wealthy celebrity completely melt down, completely fall apart before you realize they're just people? And we are all equally fucked up. And if we had the kind of resources that Diddy had, with the kind of demand that Diddy had, we would all lean into whatever our unique fucked upness was. For some people, that's drugs. For some people, that's sex. For some people, that's who knows what, right? Gambling. We all have something that makes us a little bit fucked up. When you mix incredible resources with human nature, and then you start layering in the fact that, I am not defending Diddy, but let's be honest about the dude's circumstances. There were other people pulling the strings to make Diddy who Diddy was. Attorneys, investors, labels, like promoters. There were all these people who had to keep the secret. And all they cared about was, hey, keep the guy happy, he keeps producing. Keep the guy happy, he keeps quiet. Keep the guy doing this. Those parties, those freak-offs, I can almost guarantee you, Diddy did not put together one detail about any one of those things. It was 5 or 7 other people that knew he liked them. They were the ones that did all the work. They were the ones that found the girls, found the drugs, prepped the hotel rooms, cleaned the hotel rooms, wiped the blood off the coffee table. Teams of people were involved in this, all because there was something about the lie that gave them an advantage. And that is the way the world works. That is the way it will always work, and it has always worked.
Whew. I mean, obviously, being a woman, I'd be like, yeah, if anyone even said, hey, Lisa, like, let's get a bunch of dudes, let's hide them, let's like manipulate them, I'd be like, fuck no. Like, get out of my house. I'm calling the cops. So there is a responsibility of the leader that I think is very important. So P. Diddy, if you see that, then you fire people, you let people go. So, but I hear that I hear what you're saying, that it's not just one person. It feels like it may be an army of people, but they have that one person at the top that is everyone's pointing out. Now, just spoiler alert, I've been to a P. Diddy party before. I've been to his house. And I was like, oh God. Like, I was trying to rack my brain to see if I knew of anything, and there was nothing wrong. It was like, it was a massive party. It was his 50th birthday. Like, Rihanna was there and Jay-Z was there. But in going to the party, there was an energy I've never seen. Not to like, for the sex trafficking at all, but the way that people act around power, the way people acted around P. Diddy, Rihanna, and Jay-Z when they were there, it's like, I don't agree, but I do see how people just like, I'll do anything for you. And so it kind of then almost goes back to the cult thing, where it's like you have the leader, where people admire the leader so much that they're willing to do anything that that leader says.
I would even go beyond that to say it's not just about the leader, it's about the ideology. Because really, when people are at a party with Jay-Z, Rihanna, and Diddy, at a visceral level, at a survival level, what people were excited about is they were in the music industry. They were in the top of the music industry. They were invited to that kind of event. Whenever you get to go to, and I'm sure you've been, if you haven't been, we can get you to one. I'm sure you've been to some sort of major political event.
No, I haven't.
We got to get you to one. So I'm not saying like Democrat, Republican political. I mean like National Day for Mexico in Washington, D.C., right? Or 4th of July at the White House in Washington, D.C. When you're in an environment like that, the institution is the ideology that creates the energy, just like you were talking about in a cult. Very, very similar. It's the ideology that makes people believe in it. The cult leader is just the figurehead, right? There's a strong correlation between cult behavior and extremist behavior, right? Between terrorists and cults. Unfortunately, that same kind of infectious behavior is the same thing that exists at a church tent revival. It's the same kind of energy that exists at the Republican National Convention or the Democratic National Convention. It's that mass psychosis of such incredible faith and dedication to the ideology that ramps up the energy big time. And then when you have big figureheads, Jay-Z, Rihanna, Diddy, in a setting like that, the energy's off the wall. Nobody wants to be the one that kills the party, right? Not excusable, not justifiable, not legal. But you can kind of start to understand what led to all the bad decisions, what led to all the lies. I'm not saying you would do the same thing or I would do the same thing. What would happen is just like with a cult. Remember we talked about how cults are so powerful because they let everybody in and then they very quickly are okay with people leaving who don't belong. Right? You've heard of a term called the inner sanctum?
Yeah.
Inner sanctum is a very real thing. In a cult, there is an inner sanctum, the circle of influence that is closest to the leader. That inner sanctum, you don't get to that inner sanctum until you've earned the trust of the larger cult. So people are kicked out by the first layer of cult before they can ever reach the inner sanctum, which is where their real secrets lie. In this case, same thing with Diddy. There was an inner sanctum.
So let's say you have to read an incredibly long email from your boss that you have to finish before the big meeting starts in 10 minutes. Or you're cramming for an exam the night before, but can't bear to keep your eyes open to read one more textbook chapter. Or you're reviewing a dense legal document that could change your life forever. Or you're proofreading your thesis one last time before you submit it to make sure there aren't any errors. No matter what you have to read, we could all use a second pair of eyes to help us retain information and put our best foot forward. Enter Speechify, a reading assistant powered by artificial intelligence and deep learning, and designed consciously for students and working professionals who want to get more done. Speechify does the reading for you, so you can spend less energy reading and more energy comprehending. Choose your listening speed. Start at 230 words per minute and build to 500 words per minute, which is 2.5 times faster than most people read. Choose from a range of incredible voices that use human inflection, so you can stay engaged without getting tired. Don't have enough time to finish? Take your reading on the go with a single click. Best of all, Speechify is free. Click on the button to download now.
I'm here, y'all. I think I might get Speechify to read back to me. I just want.
There was an inner sanctum. That inner sanctum wasn't one man. That was attorneys, producers, promoters. That was a whole bunch of people involved. And that's one of the reasons why everybody's okay with him fighting. Because if he falls, there's a whole slew of people falling after him. Before we even get to the fucking customers of the sex trafficking. And guess who's going to be on that list? More entertainers, more professional athletes, more businessmen, more millionaires. It's going to be a mess.
Well, I never even considered that. Holy smokes. Can't believe I didn't even think about it, but you're right.
Yeah, if you're getting a prostitute from Diddy, you're not like Joe
yeah.
You're not Joe Blow from Michigan. Yep.
No. Holy, oh my God. Okay, I've got one more case that I'd love to go over, and I'm always trying to be very honest that it's not just men. So I don't know if you've heard of Gypsy Rose Blanchard.
Yes.
So a quick description in case people don't know who she is. So Gypsy Rose was actually born healthy, and at 3 months old, her mum, Dee Dee, suspected Gypsy was sick. But despite multiple examinations, doctors found no issues with her health. But over time, Dee Dee is convinced that Gypsy suffered from a chromosomal defect, leukemia, and muscular dystrophy, then claiming that Hurricane Katrina destroyed all of her medical records and birth certificates. Habitat of Humanity built them a small house. They put a wheelchair access home, and her story was so heartfelt around the world that it got media attention, and she was started to receive gifts, cash donations, concert tickets, celebrity meet and greets, and got a free trip to Disney World courtesy of Make-A-Wish Foundation. Now, it turns out that years later, Gypsy says that none of that was true and that she wasn't sick at all. It turns out her mum is suffering from Munchausen syndrome by proxy. And Gypsy says that she physically chained her to the bed and put bells around the doors so that she can see if Gypsy was going to move, because then her secret was going to be spoiled. So she couldn't escape. Now, it turns out Gypsy ended up meeting a guy, and they killed the mother, stabbing her 17 times.
That's an incredible story, right?
So Munchausen by proxy is where a parent is convinced, falsely, that their child is sick. So the fact that she not only lied to the doctors, somehow convinced people she was in hospital, she was having operations. I mean, there were photos of tubes coming out of her daughter's, stomach. And all along, Gypsy says, I could walk, but my mum threatened me. My mum wouldn't let me walk. So how does somebody pull such a big, audacious lie over so many people for so long, for something so serious, and convinces doctors to operate on her child?
She believed it. She believed her own lie. And that's what's so dangerous about lies, is that we believe our own lies.
Very true.
Munchausen by proxy is an extreme example. Gypsy Rose, Dee Dee, Blanchett, the extreme example of what happens. Decades of believing your own lie, believing it so much that you're willing to put your child through pain, through surgery.
All right. Go click the link and check out the show. I got to do my conclusion and get ready to get up out of here. Before I go, hold on, let me say this last part. Why does my body feel nervous? Do I need some water or something? My whole body is like, why am I hitting anxiety? I don't understand. Yeah, so that part right there ties into the part I was talking about with the parents. And yes, people can believe their own lie. What reason do you need to tell the truth? What reason do you need to be completely honest? When I'm honest with T, I'm honest with T. And I accept the reality that my guard is down and I'm honest to her. You see what I'm saying? Because that's just the person that I just have that relationship with from the door. And that's the relationship I'm going to keep with her, right? At the same time, I'm still getting to know her, right? And just like anybody else I'm getting to know, honesty to that capacity is not necessary until it's necessary. Or it may not never ever be necessary. Or maybe it's not information anybody needs to know. Sometimes you got to think about that. Sometimes people feel like, I just want to be a good person and this and that. But that good person should have fucked you up. That good person should have you fucked up out here. Anyway, I think I've exhausted this one right here. We're going to keep on with the dark psychology. And yeah, man. Everybody, thank you for tuning in to V314 Bad Bitch Craft Radio with a Minty. I'm out. Trying to be out. Shit.